Hey everybody, so excited to see you here. I'm Nikki and today we are looking at minimal ink blending, maximum results. And I have come up with 3 or 4 ways that you can really get more results from less ink blending. And I'm gonna show you how I did that. This is one of my favorite cards. I love this card. It's got so many details, yet it was easy on the ink blending. And I'm gonna show you how to coordinate a card and create those amazing details with minimal effort. Okay, so we will get right into that video, but first I wanted to say there's an exclusive coupon. I'm going to pop up a QR code. If you are on a computer, it may be easier just to take a quick picture with your phone. If not, of course, this will be in the description, but I have 5% off of Altenew that's exclusive for this weekend only, and you can stack it on top of other sales. Not necessarily other free shipping. All the details will be down in the description, so make sure you check that out. If you haven't done it yet, you should hit the like and the subscribe button on my channel so you don't miss more of my content. All right, I'm going to get right into this video and we're going to look at this minimal ink blending card that has maximal results. Let's go.
Okay, let me show you what we're working with. We're using the Craft Your Life kit called Magnificent Magnolias. And the reason that I picked this specific kit is because it has so many different options for us. It's got stencils, embossing folders, die cuts, stamps. We have so many different ways that we can color our die cuts. And I wanted to take something that may look a little overwhelming to you because there's so many parts and break it down to really minimal ink blending to create a magnificent final result. So we're going to be going through the embossing folder, the die cuts, the stencils, and I'm going to do minimal work and create an amazing card. Okay, and we're going to, of course, start with the embossing folder because if you know me, you know I love embossing folders. And this trick is pretty cool. It's going to be, I'm going to have to explain it to you a little bit on camera because I know that you can't see the texture of this cardstock. But let me try to flip it in the light so that you can see that it has a shimmer to it and it has a little bit of texture. And that is going to make all the difference. So go through your cardstock pile and try to look for something that's different than just your normal plain white paper. And we're going to try ink blending and see what a difference this makes. So when you're picking the specialty paper that you want to try to use with the stenciling, you need to double check with your ink first and just make sure that it actually stays on that paper. If it's very slick, sometimes it wants to smudge off. So I did do a little checking before I tried this out on a corner of the paper, and I realized the ink was staying great. So I did let it dry a little bit afterwards just to make sure that I wasn't smudging anything. But part of the secret of why this works is because I'm coming in with really neutral colors, and I've got a piece of paper here that's textured. It also has that sheen to it, and the center of it, it's kind of an off-white. So you can take colors that are very similar to it and do very minimal ink blending and get some amazing results. Because really, you only need to ink blend the outer 2/3 of this versus trying to come in on white and create all the colors. So I'm taking hazelnut and I'm going around the entire edge. I realize that as careful as I'm trying to be, I really do need to mask off this area if I don't want to color in the other vase. So it actually makes it more freeing and I can kind of go faster with my ink blending. So I'm adding the hazelnut to like about the 1/3 of this vase. And then we're going to come in with a second layer of the stencil, which is just that bottom area, and make it a little darker like we did on the previous vase that you see to the left of this one. I'm going to show you my ink blending trick to make this look like it's glowing from inside. So we went around with hazelnut. Now we're going to add a slightly darker and we're going to keep it to just the very edge. Think like 5 to 10% of this amount showing, and it just really highlights the center being light. I'm still using a brush and I'm just barely letting it go over this area. Okay, and here's how that looks once you finished it. Now we still have the second layer, which is the bottom ledge of this, but look at how glowy that is in the middle. It looks beautiful, and you could really just leave it like this, but I'm going to take in the second layer of the stencil, and we're going to make this a little bit darker. I'm using the same color scheme, but using darker colors in that scheme. Okay, I'm going to run through this one quickly. I'm going to cover most of the bottom with the almond butter, still blending in from each side to kind of make the sides darker and create that beautiful spotlight in the middle. So we'll do almond butter, and then the next darkest is milk chocolate. All right, so look at what this looks like. Oh my goodness. Do you feel like those vases are glowing from within? I really do. Okay, let's review. So basically, we used a specialty paper and we created a little bit of ink blending. It really does not take much on this paper because the center of it is off white. So we created a little bit of ink blending and really created part of the showstopper of this card. I'm going to fussy cut it out, set it aside, and let me show you the minimal ink blending we did on the flowers. We're going to leave most of the flowers white, which I don't do often enough, and it really saves some time. So, something about floral dyes from Altenew, if you haven't used them lately, they really are doing some cool things, especially if there's more than one flower. Right now, everything is connected that you need for that flower. So sometimes I die cut them in phases because I know I've got full flowers and I can keep their parts together a little bit easier if all else fails. They also have a little code in them that will tell you the layers, how they line up. It really makes doing this so much easier. So I'm going to die cut all of these things from white, and then we'll show you the quick ink blending on those and how much of a difference it makes. And then we'll throw in one more way to really make the card stand out. Now, sometimes with ink blending, it can be hard to see from the top how much of this I'm doing. I'm using a very light color that has a little green hint to it. It's a yellow green called lemon ice. And you see, I'm just kind of taking it down the middle and just adding a little hint of color to about 2/3 of each of these petals. And I'm not being real specific with it. I'm just kind of getting the color down because we're going to be layering these on top of each other. So it doesn't really matter what most of these petals look like. Just kind of keep it smooth and do a little bit of blending. For the second color, I switched to a smaller brush. This is called a micro ink blending brush from Altenew, and I'm just adding a little bit of darkness. This is called mid yellow, and I'm adding a little bit to the centers of these flowers, making it super quick. And that's all we're doing to the petals. So we do have the center portion that's going to be fuchsia and magenta, which are really bright pinks. And you do have two pieces. Part of the bottom piece will show, so you do want to color both of them. I added a little bit of depth with a smaller brush and the darker magenta to the edges of each of these. Not sure if that really matters, but it does make the flower look cool. So the middle section of the flower, which I believe is called the stamen, is going to be kind of a neon green, and it just looks to me like a real magnolia flower, but it also just is a great contrast of color. Now, I've really zoomed in because I want you to see that how these go together. Do you see that all of the pieces of the same flower have this little arrow color on them? It's a little arrow cutout. And you line that arrow up in the center so that you can see through it with each piece, and it lines this flower up perfectly. So I'm going to try to do some extra zooming, but I'm lining up the pieces with that arrow and getting them nice, and it's just so easy to put a flower together. The pieces are even labeled with a very small number that says the piece number. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you finish the flower layers, you'll still have that little arrow right in the center, but remember, we've got to cover this up with the middle of the flower, and it looks so cute. So finish all 3 flowers, and then we got to look at our background. This is our third way to create some stenciling. I laid my flowers out on the stencil because it just helps you see the placement, because this is a big flower arrangement for an A2 card, and so you want to make sure everything fits. And I've got 2 parts, and really honestly, I completely forgot about what I was going to do in the background. I kind of just thought I was going to have these flowers in a vase. I don't know what I was thinking, but what I want to show you is it really makes the card look 3D if you have some background flat stenciling. So I'm going to show you how this card really pops, and we're going to keep that stenciling super simple because most of it you're not going to see at all. You've got flowers, you got a vase, and you've just got that little background pop of flat stenciling that makes everything else look so much more 3D. Now, the other thing about this flat stenciling is look at this paper. Paper is a coffee bean paper, and so it's got a little bit of off-white. It's got some little flecks of darker in it, and that makes this even more exciting. So that paper is from your Paper Insider. I will make sure to put a link in the description for you. And now I'm just gonna add quick stenciling with almond butter. So I'm gonna fast forward through this, show you what it looks like when I take it off. And I did add almond butter, and I did the next brown, which I'll put in the description. I think that's called milk chocolate, and just added just a little bit more darkness in certain areas. Now, there's just something about this brown with the vase that has that brown in it. The background has those flecks of brown. And then we're pulling in these bright white flowers with a little bit of yellow and pink and green. It really makes a very sophisticated card. And I think the fact that you've got flat on the background, you have raised up in these amazing detailed flowers, and then you've got your vase that we're going to put a little bit of foam tape on, just absolutely makes this one of my favorite cards of the year. Let me show you how I got the sentiment on there because, of course, I did not want to interrupt the background, and I kind of last minute realized I hadn't put one on here. So I'm going to show you how to do that when you forget something. I did not stick down the vase yet because I'm actually going to do some extra stuff to give it even more dimension, and I wanted to show you what I did. So once you've cut out your design, you've embossed it, you've stenciled, you can always go back and emboss it again. That helps just keep those little raised effects. It really gives it a lot more texture. And it just, if you've flattened it out in your process, and I've been messing with this a lot, it's a great way to add a little bit of extra detail without a whole lot of work. Just run it through one more time. And I trying to make sure that the sentiment right there, hugs, fits before I get this vase glued down. I am going to add some foam tape to the vase. And you see, I had to go a little to the side just to make sure I could get that word to fit. But don't worry. I know that we haven't stamped it yet, but I'm going to show you an easy way to stamp this once you've even already put all your pieces on. It's still possible. So I'm going to add some Altenew Instant Foam Dimension Tape. This is a foam double-sided adhesive, and I wanted you to see how much I add because you can add one piece, that's fine, but I try to really cover an item, and so I'm really covering all its edges. It just keeps it more flat and even versus one side sagging down. So I completely covered that back with double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to go ahead and get this adhered to the card. Then we are going to stamp this, and I know that's risky, but I'm going to show you a way that I've been using that really works perfect. And if you don't have the way that I'm doing it yet, it'll show you why you might want to consider that. Okay, so this is a stamp wheel. It's a stamp positioner tool from Altenew. If you've seen many of my videos, you've probably seen it a few times. But here's one of the ways that you can use it when you forget something. So I've got all these 3D elements on my card, and I still can place my stamp, pick it up, and not worry about crushing or hurting any of these others. You just press in the area of the stamp. I am going to add some dark black ink, and we're going to press it, and we're just going to do it once. So once I've got it here, I can put just a little pressure. Look at that. I don't hit any of the flowers. I got it on the background, and I am just amazed with this card. I would love to hear what you think in the comments. Don't forget to use the extra 5% off code that I have for the weekend. That will be helpful for you at Altenew, and it does add on to other sales. So definitely worth checking out, and it helps me if you use my code. It'll take you directly where you don't have to put in anything else. It'll show up in the coupons for you. Hit the like and subscribe. I hope to see you soon. Bye.